Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Planning Board meeting for Wednesday, February 21st, here in the Municipal Building Council Chambers. First order of business is a roll call. We have John Beckett, Dave Thompson, Jeremy Chubbuck, Michael Costello, Krista Swinzer, and myself, Lisa Buck. And I'd like to take a motion to make Mike a voting member.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? So be it. Acceptance of the agenda. Any questions, comments, additions? I'll take.
There was a revision to the agenda that was first given to you that went in the public notice. There was just a small change to the total number of acres of the development. It went from 98 acres to 62.3, and that's because in 2007, the applicant sold a portion of the retained land from the approved subdivision to an abutter, and so that reduced the number of acreage to 62.3. So that was corrected on here.
Do I need a motion to accept this new agenda?
Yes.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept this new agenda?
I make a motion that we accept the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? All right, that passes. I need a motion to approve the minutes of December 20th, 2017, and then we'll go for the corrections that might be there.
I move that we accept the minutes as presented with probably one correction.
Okay.
Second.
Anybody got any other corrections? There's one that we had on page 2, 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph. Second line should be, Chair Ruck asked if there were hybrid options to meet the 2 pools plus 70 acres conservation target in the rural area that would be used to offset development of a vernal pool, etc. Any other corrections? I'm looking at you.
I wasn't there.
Oh, okay.
So I don't have any.
Okay.
And I did forget the page numbers this time, so
Okay.
I'll add that one in.
All right. All those in favor of accepting these? And,
I don't get to vote
Yeah.
because I wasn't there.
yep, okay. So that passes, thank you. So we have a public hearing tonight on an amendment to a July 19th, 2006 approved major subdivision plan titled Forest Hollow, located at the intersection of Grant Road and Forest Ave. It's tax map 17, lot 23, tax map 17, lots 52 through 59, and tax map 9, lots 8 through 19, a total of 62.3 acres in the low-density residential zoning district for Don Benson. The proposed amendment is to reduce the number of lots from a 21 single-family residential subdivision to a 10-lot single-family residential subdivision. So, can we have Mr. Benson come up and explain to us what this is about?
Should I go over
Yep.
there? Good evening. My name's Don Benson, and in 2006, I did the Forest Hollow subdivision on a new road, Grant Road, which is just off of Forest Avenue. I'm here today to reduce the number of lots, and it's strictly because the taxes are killing me. The taxes are approximately $20,000 a year, and every 2 years I lose a lot. I basically caught the perfect storm in 2006, and I've only sold 3 lots in 12 years. I had a deal with a builder that I had worked with very well in Winterport, and he was supposed to buy 5 lots, and the money dried up. So I financed him on 1 lot, and he went bankrupt. So I ended up taking back lot 1, which has a house on it. I sold a second lot about 3 years ago, lot 15, and I sold a third lot last summer in August, lot number 2. I'm getting ready to foreclose that because I had to sell it with owner finance and it hasn't seemed to work out. I spoke with the tax assessor to try to reduce the taxes. The assessed value is approximately $33,000 per lot, which produces about a $900 a year tax. I feel that the town hasn't recognized the recession properly. I feel that the lots were very valuable up until the recession. I feel that the lots are worth zero until there's a house on them. I know that wouldn't fly with a tax appeal. I spoke to the tax assessor about reducing the lots. I think a realistic price is about $20,000 per lot in today's market. I've communicated with the biggest realtor in Maine, who's in South Portland, Maine Real Estate Network. He thought that, and he's very successful in South Portland area. He felt the lots were worth around $25,000 each. So I decided if I could reduce the lots, there's 17 unsold lots on Grant Road. I thought I would keep 4, which is my proposal, and change the other 13 into 2 large parcels. And in that way, I would be able to reduce the taxes to about $10,000 a year. And then I thought when I sold the lots, I would come back and do another amended subdivision. My big mistake was doing 20 back in '06. I should have done 4 or 5, as the Libby brothers did across the street on Maxfield Drive. They did, I think, 4 6-lot subdivisions. But basically, my goal is to reduce the taxes by reducing the number of lots, to continue to market the lots until they're sold, and then to bring back probably 4 at a time. I'm not sure at this point. Everyone I speak to says, how come they haven't sold? And I go, I don't know. I've been in the real estate business my whole working career. I've done several subdivisions. Orono's an upscale community. I thought I had hit a home run when I bought the property. I don't know why. The taxes in Orono are high. I can't think of anything else negative. It's in a very nice area. It's an upscale community. I've worked in many upscale communities across the country, college towns. I worked in Columbus, Ohio. I worked in Ann Arbor. I don't know. Every year I've been thinking, maybe it's my year, maybe it's my year. I did a 12-lot subdivision in Winterport, and I was done in a year and a half. So I just don't know. I just can't afford to spend $20,000 a year while I'm waiting, and that's the main reason why I'm applying, to amend the subdivision. It was going to be my retirement, but that's hasn't worked out that well. But that's my whole story.
Okay.
It's a nice area. It's a nice subdivision. The lots are quite nice. I'm willing to compromise on price. At this point, my goal is to try to get most of my money back. I have almost $1 million invested in the situation. I do feel that the town isn't recognizing what the market value is today based on everything else. And I really think the market value is about $20,000. I am applying with the tax department. I'm going to do an appeal on 4 lots. 2 of them are heavy ledge, and 3 of them, 5 lots, and 3 of them are wetland lots. But that's a separate issue.
Right.
And that's basically
Well,
what
thank
I'm
you.
trying to do.
All right, let me see if there's any questions. from the board members? Do I ask for questions from the public now?
You can open the public hearing, or you can ask
Hmm?
whatever. You can open the public hearing if you'd like. You can also ask for the planner's report, whatever you feel.
All right, well, why don't we take the planner's report and then we'll open it up for public hearing? Thank you.
So as Don explained, he's simply reducing the number of lots from 21 lots to a 10-lot subdivision. The modification doesn't extend the subdivision outside of the bounds of what was approved in 2006. In 2006, when he was approved with conditions, and all those conditions were met. The road was built to town standards and was accepted by the town and deeded to the town in 2011. Along with the road came the stormwater drainage runoff buffers. So the town maintains an easement to that to step onto the buffers in order to maintain them and improve them if necessary, in order to make sure that the water is flowing off Grant Road properly. Mr. Benson did some due diligence. He reached out to the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife to make sure that nothing had changed in the area since his approval in 2006. He reached out to the department or the Historic Commission at the state to make sure that there was no changes there either. He had an updated letter from the soil scientist and site evaluator who did the both soil studies for the subdivision back in 2006. Again, it's been 12 years, so we just wanted to make sure that nothing had changed in terms of the soils in the area, and that came back satisfactory. The one thing that is still pending, so Mr. Benson was required in 2006 to apply for a site law permit from the Maine Department of Environmental Protection. Any revision to a subdivision, you have to reapply and show them the proposed revision to the subdivision. Mr. Benson has done that, but it has not been fully permitted and approved by the department yet. So if you decide to move forward with this tonight, you could make it a condition to approval. There are some notes on the proposed subdivision plan that have some errors in them that would also need to be modified tonight if you decide to move forward. One of those that I were suggesting is that we actually revised some of the recommendations from the planner's report, and if you don't mind giving that to them. One revision, the recommendations. One revision that was made was to add a note on the plan acknowledging that any future division of the retained land that Mr. Benson is proposing, so he'd have, the proposal shows 3 lots of retained land. So 1 from the original approval, and then 2 that he's creating by combining lots together. So the note on the plan would just acknowledge that any future division of those lots would need to come back again to the planning board for subdivision approval. And I believe that's all I have. Are there any questions for me?
Are any of the current owners that, you have one house there, right?
There's 2 houses. Lot 1 and Lot 15.
Only one's occupied though, right?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Only one is occupied though, right?
No, 2 are occupied.
2 are, okay.
The Lot 1 is a rental.
And not to.
The house
say
on
that-
Lot 1 is I own and I'm renting it.
Okay.
And then someone else owns Lot 15.
This doesn't impact them at all, right? It doesn't change their perspective of their value of home ownership?
No, so I actually got a phone call from one of the owners that lives down lot 15 on the in the subdivision with that concern. What I explained to him is that it doesn't affect the assessed value of his property, and he asked what that does for combining the other lots together, and does that mean that those would have a higher assessed value now because there's actually more land within the lots? And the answer to that is that it actually, the reason that he's doing that is because it actually reduces the value of the taxes, because he's only allowed one house lot on each lot, and that house lot is valued at a higher rate, and then the rest of the land, remaining land, is taxed at or assessed at a value that's lower. So he's not going to be increasing the value of the lots, he'd actually be reducing it, because he's going to now have less house lots. He could have had 13 house lots, and now they're only be counted as 2. So that's reducing the amount there. So that's the only communication that I've had with any property owners within the subdivision.
Because their dream of having neighbors is non-existent right now anyway.
That's correct.
I would plan to bring the lots back in the same configuration when I'm able to. And on the map that you guys have, it shows where the old lots were.
Exactly.
And there's also 4, so he is leaving 4 lots for sale. So there is still potential for sale of some of the lots there. And if those succeed, then, as Mr. Benson said, he could see himself potentially coming back for further amendments to the subdivision.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Any other questions?
I also just wanted to point out, in the previous approval, there were several open space areas. One was a wildlife buffer on the west side of the subdivision. The runoff buffers that I talked about before, that's part of the stormwater drainage system. 2 vegetated buffers that affect lots 1 and lot 2 in the subdivision that are, actually lot 1 is improved upon, and lot 2 was sold, so those are still part of the subdivision. And then there was a recreational path easement that was deeded to the town. All of that, it remains unchanged within this new amended proposal, so I just wanted to be clear on that as well.
Okay, so I'll open it up for public comment. If you have a comment, if you could please come up to the microphone, state your name and all that.
My name is Frank Alley, and I live at 232 Forest Avenue, right next to the subdivision. Is there a map that shows what the current proposal is? Because
Yep.
I don't,
I can give you mine, sure.
I just wanted to see how it would impact what my property and how.
I believe you're.
Yeah, I'm right here.
And so, what I did was the newly proposed lots are here,
Okay.
and then this is where the existing lots are. So combining all of these lots here together to create one parcel of retained land.
So all of these are still for sale. So this one next to me is still for sale.
Yes.
Okay. So this subdivision was approved in 2006, and it's almost 12 years old. At what point does the planning board consider dormancy on a project like this? You know, it hasn't, we have not had any movement. And does the town have any clauses for dormancy on subdivisions?
Mind if I?
Go
The
for
lots
it.
are actively for sale and being marketed, so they're not considered dormant. He hasn't pulled them off the market. So he is still continuing to try. After a subdivision is approved, it gets registered at the, recorded at the Registry of Deeds and runs with that land for forever until there's any amendment to
That subdivision.
to that
Okay.
subdivision.
All right. And the only other thing is, do we know about dollar value, what the revenue implications to the town of Orono would be for these reduced taxes?
I mean, so
What the new taxes will be?
yeah, I mean, he's
Approximately 10,000.
cutting in half by 10,000.
Just
For,
about in half.
for each lot?
No,
Oh,
that's
no,
total.
The 4 lots would remain.
You know what, I'm gonna have you go up to the microphone, so, just so it could be recorded, that's fine.
The 4 lots would keep the same assessed value, and the rest of the land would be 2 large lots, which would have a much lower assessed value. I believe, I can look it up, I think the combined lots on the west side would be about 50,000, 60,000 in assessed value, and the larger parcel on the right, which goes all the way around the
Yep.
corner, would be about 80 or 90,000. But the total impact would bring the taxes down from about 18, 19,000 to about 10.
Okay.
And the 4 lots that I'm keeping are not changed at all, they're identical. I'm keeping that lot unsold and these 2, and then 1 up here to give people choices.
So this lot here is all one that you're gonna
That'll
combine?
become 1 lot.
So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 that you're gonna,
I think there was more like 6 in there.
2, yeah, 4
Yeah,
there.
1, 2, 3,
4,
okay, 4.
4 there, and then,
This is about 10 or so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When there's 1 large lot, it's more than a
Yeah.
little lot, but it's not a lot more. This would have a value of about 3 lots at 90,000.
The other consideration to make is that Mr. Benson created a road, which is, because the road is there, it's an improvement to the land, and those lots are then assessed at a higher value because there is a road there that's a town-owned road. So that's why he's seeing a higher rate for.
oh, absolutely, yeah, because town has to maintain that,
Yep.
plus maintain the berms and
Yep.
stormwater runoff. And I guess that's my point. The town still has to
So,
maintain.
I'm sorry, but we're just recording this, it's a public
Yeah.
meeting,
So
so. yeah.
I guess that's why I asked that question, because we have a road in there that the town's maintaining, we have to maintain the berms and the stormwater runoff, and that costs the town money, so to reduce those taxes, and then, probably if the real estate market turns around, he gets to turn around and redevelop these into what they originally were and reap the benefits, and the town doesn't get all those years of that $10,000. It's,
The taxes on the entire 96 acres was $1,500.
that's right, because it was probably in tree growth and,
No,
No.
it was just.
But that actually isn't something that we would take up here.
right.
We're
right.
just gonna, that's a tax assessor question, and I'm sure there's laws and all the rest of it about that
Yeah.
that's not part of our business tonight.
Right.
Any chance you could do away with lot 3?
Love to get rid of lots.
Because it's all wet.
Yeah.
I'd make you a real good deal on it.
Do you have any other questions, or?
No, that's it. I just, dormancy, as long as it's for sale, then it's not dormant then.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. You can have this back.
Any other questions? I'm going to close the public hearing. So do we want to move forward on this proposal?
You want me to make a motion?
Sure.
I make a motion that we accept the proposal as proposed with the following conditions. Number 1, that all findings of the planning board with respect to this development at its meeting on July 19, 2006, and all the conditions of approval and requirements pertaining thereto are unchanged and remain in place. 2, that a note be added to the plan acknowledging that any future division of the retained land, if any, if such future division constitutes the creation of a subdivision lot, will be subject to the land use ordinance standards in effect at the time of the subdivision. 3, that the net and usable acreage in the acreage table on the plan be corrected. 4, that note number 17 on the plan should be corrected to read, quote, approved by Orono Planning Board on July 19, 2006, and recorded on August 25, 2006. 5, that the applicant be granted an approved site location and development law land use permit for the amended plan by the Maine Department of Environmental Protection. And finally, number 6, that the signed amended subdivision plan be included, to include conditions of approval that run with the property, be recorded within 90 days of approval of the amended plan.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I actually have a question. The number 5, that takes care of it's pending approval of that Maine DEP, so that takes care of that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, all those in favor? Looks unanimous. Do I need to read something into the record, some finding of fact? So just as a matter of procedure here, I'm going to read this, and then we vote on this too? Or no?
Really, it should have been done.
That's
before
what I
the vote was
thought.
made.
Should have
Yeah.
done this
Yeah,
first.
Yeah.
that's okay.
All right. So we'll go ahead with this, and then we'll vote on this too.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Proposed finding of fact, Forest Hollow subdivision, Mr. Donald Benson, amendment number 1, subdivision review, February 21st, 2018. Pursuant to Article 7, Section 18-210, subdivision review of the Orono Code of Ordinances, the Orono Planning Board has considered the application of Mr. Donald Benson to amend the Forest Hollow subdivision, originally approved in July of 2006, by reducing the number of lots from a 21-lot single-family residential subdivision to a 10-lot single-family residential subdivision. The property is located in the low-density residential district on Grant Road, and based on all evidence presented by the applicant, reviewing agencies, and town departments, and the public, the planning board found the following. Number 1, lots. That the proposed amendment includes reducing the number of lots from 21 to 10, achieved by combining lots 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19, and 20 to form an 18.4 acre lot of retained land, and by also combining lots 7, 9, 11, and 13 to form a 10.63 acre lot of retained land, amounting to 3 lots of retained land, a total of approximately 37 acres and 7 subdivision lots. Further, that all lots continue to meet the minimum dimensional standards for the low-density residential district and comply with state standards for lots relying on subsurface wastewater disposal systems. Further, that the proposed amendment properly acknowledges that future divisions of the retained land, if any, if such future division constitutes the creation of subdivision lots, will be subject to land use ordinance standards in effect at the time of the subdivision. 2, drainage improvements, that the amended subdivision plan does not alter the previously designated and approved protected runoff drainage buffers that are part of the approved stormwater management plan. 3, open space, wildlife habitat, wetlands, and recreation land, that the amended subdivision does not alter the previously designated and approved significant wildlife habitat buffer, vegetative buffers on lots 1 and 2, and the recreational path easement. 4, overall findings as to the other elements of the Forest Hollow subdivision, that reducing the number of lots from 21 to 10 will not affect any previous findings leading to the original approval of the Forest Hollow subdivision, and will not adversely affect any element of the original approval, including standards for sewer and water utilities, pollution control, stormwater management, and drainage improvements, the roadway and traffic circulation, or financial and technical capacity. Further, that all other findings of the planning board with respect to this development at its meeting of January 19th, 2006, and all conditions of approval and requirements pertaining thereto are unchanged and remain in place. Do I have a motion?
Move that we accept the findings of fact.
It should be July.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Any discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, is there any other business? Nothing on the agenda?
No, I just wanted to let you know that the March meeting, which is scheduled for March 21st, we will have 2 items as of right now on the agenda. One would be an amendment to the edge. They need to come back because there was a taking by the Maine DOT as part of the roundabout project that moves their property line, which then affects the setback for the cluster development that they were approved for. So they have re-engineered small modification, so they'll be coming back. And then there is a single-family home to a 2-family home on the agenda as well. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor? Thank you.